Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Dr. Yonnette. It's such a wonderful pleasure, I say, to be with you again today. Today, I want to talk with you a little bit about my big fat, my not so big fat, not so Greek family. I said earlier that I grew up in Guyana in South America, and we were ruled by the British. So we were British Guyana at one point until we became independent and became Guyana. So, as I'm sharing with you this morning, I want to talk about entrepreneurship. And that's a big word in my family, not in terms of how many letters the word has, but in terms of how involved we are in that activity. If I can talk just for a brief moment about my son, Julius. Now, Julius has been an entrepreneur from since he was yay big. We started him off. He read the book Millionaire and he just took off. He had his business cards. He was selling t-shirts to raise funds for his Kindle, Your Reading with Fire, because he was a reader. He's still a reader. I remember when he was much younger, I would have to lie in his bed at night so that he would fall asleep so I can make sure he was sleeping during the night. If I didn't do that, what happened that he would stay up all night reading. He would stay up all night reading and read chapter books and book after book. Sometimes at third grade, he had read 1,000-page books in like a week. So he has been doing stuff for entrepreneurship from since he was little. Then he went on to selling sneakers and selling food and doing all kinds of things. But back in Guyana, entrepreneurship was a big thing too. When I was growing up, we grew up in a village. We call them villages. We grew up in a village where there were lots and lots of fruit trees. And in my yard, we had tons of fruit trees. We had mango trees. We had guinea trees. We had guava cheese. Guava cheese. I love guava cheese. Guava trees. We had psyllium and star apples and pomegranates. We had I want to say daffodils, and I'm forgetting what that fruit is. If you remember it, tell me, hit me up, tell me what the correct fruit. It's a brown fruit. It's kind of dusty and grainy on the outside, and you peel it off and you eat the brown flesh. It has black seeds in the middle. But we had that tree, and that fruit was so sweet. And we had coconut trees. And so one of the things that we had to do as children growing up was to do entrepreneurship. We were required to sell those fruits. My mom would put a stand outside of our yard and we'll put the guinea and the mangoes on the tray of that stand and we would have to sell. And I tell you, I did not like selling. I detested selling. We didn't have dragon fruit. This is made of dragon fruit. But I detested selling, especially when I would see my teacher or my classmates walking down the streets. I would just take off and leave that tray out there until they passed. And then I would go back out and continue selling. I could sell to strangers, but to my friends, I did not want to sell to my friends. But we did a lot of selling. And I remember at one point, we even sold we sold chickens. Yes, my dad raised chickens and we would have a 10-pound chicken. Man, those chickens were big and they were very, very fleshy and meaty. And we would have to first get the chicken plucked and get it prepared to take to the market in the morning before we went to school. We took those chickens to the market, we sold them, came back home, got ready for school. And we would do that for about 2, 3 weeks when the chickens were ready to be harvested and sold. And so we were always doing something and selling something. And I remember in elementary school, because that was around elementary school time. I remember in elementary school, one of my friends in my class, her name was Bibi. And Bibi always came to school with a tray or a bag of goodies to sell. And she would sell what we call mitai and fowl foot and pilori. And she would have those things. And when you needed a snack, you went to Bibi to get your snack. And at the end of the day, whatever she had left over, she would give away. And I remember the kids at school not being very kind to Bibi. They used to pull her hair. And let me say this, Bibi was an Indian girl whose family believed a lot in entrepreneurship. They sold every day. They sent her to school with things to sell. And, the kids would pull on her hair and be mean to her sometimes, bully her. And I would be her friend. I supported Bibi. So at the end of the day, all that she had left over, she would give to me. So I didn't even have to purchase. I was doing my own kind of entrepreneurship in my own special way. But, one of the things that my mom did, and she did this a lot, my mom took care of the young people and she taught them how to develop skills that they can use for entrepreneurial activities. She taught them how, and she taught us too, how to crochet. She taught us how to make shoes. She taught us how to make shoes, sandals. She taught us how to sew. She taught us how to make curtains. And every Christmas time, we had to knit or crochet flowers so we could have brand new flowers and chair backs for the new year. So she taught us a whole lot of entrepreneurship. And I remember this particular guy who came into the church. His name was Reggie. He was a grown person. I mean, grown compared to us. When you put it in child's terms, yes, he was a grown person. And he came into the church, he joined the church, and so he became a part of our group. And Reggie lived right next door to us. He lived right next door to us. And we soon found out that Reggie was a baker. And he was not just a baker. Reggie was a boss at baking. He was exceptional. And he baked what we call black cake. Now, black cake or bread pudding, it wasn't really black cake. It was bread pudding. He made bread pudding. Bread pudding is what you make from leftover bread ends that you may cut off because you don't want to eat it. The end of the bread that people don't normally eat, the top and the bottom parts that people don't normally eat. What you do is that you store all of that. You keep it or you keep them. And then later on, you have a day in the week when you put all that bread together. You soak it in water until it becomes poppy, like almost like wet flour. And then you mix it with sugar and seasonings, different kinds of spices. And it is wonderful to eat. Now, Reggie was a boss at doing that. He did such an excellent job with that particular bakery. And he would bake that thing. He made a fantastic crust that went on top of it. And he sold his bread pudding. So when Reggie came into the church, Mom invited him to have us as young people help him with his baking. And where do you think the baking took place? It took place at our house. So all the young people would come over. I remember Ronald and Peter and Monty and Cheryl and Deborah. So many of the young people would come over to our house, and it would be one night in the week when this would happen. And I look forward to that night. Oh my gosh, the place was buzzing with excitement. Tons of young people, boys and girls, and of course my siblings, Grace and Hazel and Janice, Carl, they were and Robin, they were all there. So it was a real fun time for us as we interacted with the people from the church, and Reggie taught us how to make the bread pudding. And of course, when it was finished baking, we had a chance to taste it. And that was the best time of the evening. So this entrepreneurship that I'm talking about today is what we started way back, because we didn't just make the bread pudding. When the bread pudding was finished, we packaged it and we took it out to the stores for sale. So we, including my mom mostly as the leader of the group, taught us way back then when we were still just kids. And, I mean kids, because I left Guyana to go study in Trinidad, to go to college at 17 years old. And we were doing that activity way before then. So you can imagine we were really kids. That foundation for entrepreneurship was planted way back when we were young and impressionable. And I want to ask you, what do you think about entrepreneurship? Is that a word that's familiar to you? Have you been involved in doing activities that move you to the next level, that pushes you to develop your own business ideas and have them out there and have people buy into your business ideas? Have you done any entrepreneurship? Have you purchased business cards? Have you involved your children in lemonade stands and in coding for other people and in selling sneakers? What do you do to help move your family forward in terms of entrepreneurship? It's not until our children learn how to build and to develop things that we can say that we have truly trained our children to be successful. So this morning I was sharing with you my not so big fat, not so Greek family experience with entrepreneurship. One of the experiences, because we did so many. And I hope that this was inspiring to you. Tell me, what do you do? What did you do when you were growing up? What do you do now for entrepreneurship? Share with me so that I can have an idea of your life and your experience, and we can bond together and grow together and learn that when we create, we move forward. This is Dr. Yonnette. Thank you for joining me and have a wonderful day.